Programming in C++, Unit 3, Constructor and Destructor. Topic names, Constructor, Types of Constructor, Destructor. Introduction. A constructor in C++ is a special method that is automatically called when the object of the class is created, and the destructor, it is used to destroy the object that have been created by the constructor. Objectives of this video are concepts about the constructor, default constructor, parameterized constructor, constructor with default argument, copy constructor, and destructor. Constructor. Now, what is a constructor? So, it is a one type of member function of the class whose task is to initialize the object of that class. So, the default value we can initialize in the constructor. The name of constructor is a special because the name of constructor, it is same as a class name. A constructor is invoked or the called whenever the object of its associated class is created. And the name is given constructor because it constructs the values of the data members of the class. See here, class test. The name of class is test. With the same name, if we are going to create any function, then it is called the constructor. So, this test, with the same name, here we have created one function. Okay, and function contain the opening and closing bracket. Inside function, the general task is that assign the value to the variable. Okay, so this test, this is a constructor, and when this test constructor is called, then in other functions, when we are going to create any object of that particular class, at that time this test function is going to call. So when we write this statement test T1, so T1 is an object of this test class. So with this same line, this function is going to call automatically. Types of constructor. In C++, basically there are three types of constructor. First, a default constructor which have no argument. Second, that is a parameterized constructor which contains some parameters. And the last one is a copy constructor which is used to copy the data of one constructor to another constructor. Default constructor. So default constructor is a constructor which doesn't have any argument and it has no parameters. It contains the following characteristics. Its name is the same as class name. It has no argument. It does not have any return type. The body of constructor is null. It is called automatically when the object is created. Here, see, the name of class, it is a point. Class point. Inside point, two members are going to declared as a private integer x and y. Now, in a public part of the class, with the same name as a class, with the name point, one function is created. Okay. Inside this point, there is no parameter. Inside this opening and closing bracket, there is no argument. And that's why it is known as, this constructor is known as a default constructor. And generally, what is the task of this default constructor? Then assign the default value to the variable x and y. So here, we are going to assign the default value as a 0 to x and y both. So this is a default constructor. It have no argument when it is going to call. So from the void main, when this point P1, P2, this statement is written at that, with the use of this statement, two objects are going to created P1 and P2. So when these objects are going to create, at that time this default constructor is called. So during the execution of this statement, for the P1 this point is called, and same way for the P2 this point is called. Okay. So P1 dot x is equal to 0, P1 dot y is equal to 0. Same way P2 dot x is equal to 0 and P2 dot y is equal to 0. Second type of constructor is parameterized constructor. A constructor which can take the arguments, that is called a parameterized constructor. It follows all the properties of the constructor. It takes the parameter to initialize the data. See here, class point. Inside point, two members are declared as a private members. Now this is a function which is same as a name of class, and that's why it is called a constructor. It have no argument, so it is a default constructor. Now here the second function point, it has also the same name as a class name, but here there are the two parameters inside the brackets. That means here two arguments are given with this particular function, particular constructor, and that's why it is called a parameterized constructor. Okay. Now this constructor, when it is called, so see here point P1, when the simple object is created, at that time this simple default constructor is called. Now the second object is going to create point P2, but P2 have a two parameters 5 and 7. With object, here we have passed the two parameters. First it is going to pass to x1, and the second parameter it is going to pass to y1. That x1 is going to copy in x and y1 is going to copy in the y. So the 5 value is assigned to x and the 7 value is assigned to y. So here when the object is created in this line, when the object is created with some parameter, at that time the parameterized constructor is called automatically. Now P1 dot put point, it displays the 0 0 value, and P2 dot put point, it is going to display the value 5 and 7. The third type of constructor is copy constructor. It is a constructor which creates an object by initializing it with an object of the same class which have been created previously. So to copy the data of the object from one object to another, copy constructor is used. It is used to initialize one object from another of the same type. It copies an object to pass it as an argument to a function. It copies an object to return it from a function. Class point. See the example. The function point or the constructor point without any argument, it is called the default constructor. The constructor with two arguments, it is called a parameterized constructor. Constructor inside bracket, the object of that constructor is passed, then it is called a copy constructor. Now see here, when it is called from the void main point P1, so this object is going to call this constructor, simple default constructor. So at that time this P1 dot put point, it is going to display the value 0 0. Point P2 5 7. So this line it called the parameterized constructor. 5 is assigned to x1 and 7 is assigned to y1. So this point P2 constructor, it is called the parameterized constructor, and P2 dot put point, it is going to display the value 5 and 7. Now this copy constructor, to call the copy constructor there are two methods. First implicit call and the second one is explicit call. Point P3 inside bracket P2. So it is going to call this third type of constructor P3 is created, P3 object is going to create as a new object, and P2 is going to pass as an argument. So this P2 here it is passed as an argument, and P3 that is a new object. So that P2 is passed to this object P. So P dot x. So P2 dot x it is going to copy in P3 dot x, and P2 dot y it is going to copy in P3 dot y. So P3 dot x, the value of P3 dot x is 5 and the value of P3 dot y is 7. So this type of call of this copy constructor is called the implicit call. The second way to call the copy constructor, that is explicit call. Point P4. From this line the new object is going to create P4. If we write P4 is equal to P3, then this same function is going to call. Here P3 is passed as an argument, and through P4 we are calling the function point. So P3 dot x it is going to copy in P4 dot x, and P3 dot y it is going to copy in P4 dot y. So the value of from P4 dot put point, it is going to display the value 5 and 7. One more method to call this copy constructor, create the object point P5 and write the P5 is equal to P4. It is a second way to call the copy constructor explicitly. Destructor. A destructor is used to destroy the object that have been created by the constructor. Destructor, once again, it is a member function whose name is the same as class name, but before the class name there is a one sign of tilde. For example, if the name of class is integer and the name of function is tilde integer, then this is called the destructor. A destructor never takes any argument. It never returns any value. It will be called implicitly by the compiler upon the exit from the program. So when that function is going to complete, at that time this destructor is called automatically to clean up the memory. See here, class cube. Inside that there is a one variable is defined. Now publicly in a public part of the function class, this cube it is a default constructor. Okay, so it is going to display the constructor called. Now before cube, when we add the sign of tilde, then it is called a destructor. So see, it is going to display the destructor called. When this constructor is called, so inside the void main, when we create cube C1, so at that time this constructor is called, and when there is an ending of void main, at that time the destructor is going to call, and it destroy or it free the memory of the object C1. Thank you.